Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Thought I'd do something a little bit different for our video today. I got a little bit into the MLB Network's replay today of the 2017 World Baseball Classic, which the United States won. I thought it'd be pretty neat to look back at who was actually on that team. And then, if you've been following Twitter news lately, Marcus Stroman was getting people pumped up trying to recruit guys for next year's 2021 World Baseball Classic, in which the United States will be the defending champions. So since it's been on the news a little bit lately, I thought I would take a look back, because if you guys remember, in 2017 it was the third, or maybe the fourth, I believe, World Baseball Classic, and the United States had never really done very well, and so they weren't able to get their top-notch players to participate, because these games take place in the spring, so it's kind of a little bit of the off-season for some of the guys, maybe as they're starting to get ramped up for spring training. Here were actually the players on our roster, and you're going to look at this list of guys like, man, how did we win? Here was our starting five. Marcus Stroman. This is a fielding award card. It's actually numbered on the back. 33 out of 50. Marcus Stroman was the staff ace, ended up being the MVP of the tournament. We had Chris Archer, who actually started our first game as our starting pitcher. Tanner Roark, a good pitcher, but probably not someone you would have remembered on our team. Pitched quite a bit. This is an autograph card here from Panini Elite Extra Edition in 2014. Danny Duffy started one of our elimination games against the Dominican Republic. Also pitched against Canada. And then Drew Smiley. And this, you're like, dude, who are these guys? Like, this was our starting rotation. They were actually very good. If you look back at their stats, they were amazing in the World Baseball Classic. Drew Smiley, unfortunately, hurt his arm right after the World Baseball Classic and has missed pretty much everything since then. I don't even know if he's even pitched any significant amount. Those were our five starting pitchers in the World Baseball Classic. Like, what? Those were our five best pitchers? Look at our bullpen. Mark Melanson came up and pitched, I think, in one game. Now, this is a numbered card. You can see here numbered out of 75, or 25, 11 out of 25. This is the camo parallel from a couple years ago. Luke Gregerson pitched in a game. I don't even think he's in the league anymore. Nate Jones pitched a little bit, has that funky delivery. Another funky delivery. Michael Givens pitched for us. Our lefties in the bullpen, Jake McGee. There's a rainbow foil from 2020, or not 2020, from Topps a couple years ago. Tyler Clippard in his good changeup pitched out of the bullpen. Pat Neshek in that sidearm funky delivery was one of our main right-hander relievers. Andrew Miller was our lockdown, supposed to be lockdown lefty. The game I watched today was the first game against the Dominican, where he kind of ended up blowing the game, gave up a big homer to Nelly Cruz, and then Starling Marte. That was right after he was just locking everybody down that year for Cleveland in the postseason. And then Sam Dyson, the guy who gave up the ginormous bat flip home run to Jose Bautista in the playoffs, the one that everyone knows. He was probably our best relief pitcher. He retired every single batter he faced. 17 batters faced, retired every single one in the World Baseball Classic. And then David Robertson, who's now with the Phillies. That was our bullpen. You're like, what? If I was picking a team today, I don't even know if any of those guys would be on there. But in 2017, that was our bullpen. I'm going to put them way up here at the top of the screen. Here's who else we were rolling with. Our catchers. Manager Jim Leland just kind of flipped back and forth between these two guys. Jonathan Lucroy and Buster Posey, who were probably at the top of their game. Those are probably the two best choices back then. At first base, it was kind of controversial at the time. Goldschmidt was on the roster, but he actually sat out quite a bit to Eric Hosmer. And even back then, people were kind of like, what? Hosmer? He'd won the World Series there with the Royals a couple years prior, but Goldschmidt was a lot better statistically, but he went with Hosmer, and Hosmer actually performed well, so I'm going to put Hosmer there at first base. Our main second baseman was this guy, Ian Kinsler, who's now retired. We also have some other second basemen on the roster. They didn't get as much playing time, though. Josh Harrison, this is a gold card from a couple years ago, numbered out of 2018. He played just a little bit as our utility guy. Daniel Murphy was on the team, played a little bit, but when it came down to a big game, we had Ian Kinsler as our second baseman. Our main shortstop, great defender, was Brandon Crawford. He just, come off a couple World Series championships with the Giants and a couple years before the 2017 World Baseball Classic. We also had Bregman. Alex Bregman came up and was the young guy on the team. He only started, I think, one game, got a pinch hit in another game. He didn't play very much at all, but Bregman was on the roster. But our main shortstop was Brandon Crawford. And then at third base, we had Arenado. This is a Topps High Tech card from 2018, numbered 50 out of 50. You can see down there at the bottom. Arenado, there was a little bit of talk that he would play for a different country, I think Puerto Rico, but he ended up choosing the United States, and he was our main third baseman. And so there was our infield. You're like, man, we won with these guys. Our outfield was pretty legit. Stanton played a little bit of outfield, DH'd a little bit. We had Andrew McCutchen, also played right field and DH'd. Those two kind of flip-flopped. I'll put them both kind of out there in right field. Our main center fielder was Adam Jones, who I believe is playing in Japan now. He made that insane catch in center field off Manny Machado there in Petco Park in San Diego, which he is from San Diego. The most iconic catch probably in the history of the World Baseball Classic. And then a young Christian Yelich was our left fielder, and he played almost every single game, batted at the top of the order, was very, very good. And Yelich will definitely be a guy who they look forward to be on the team again next year in 2021. So this was our roster, guys. Let me pick up my phone so you can see it a little bit. This is our main roster, our World Baseball Classic Championship roster. Man, how many of these guys would still be on the team in 2021? So that was our roster. If you're a person who's like me and kind of stuck indoors, and if they're still showing it on MLB Network tomorrow or later on this week, you may want to watch some of those games, because I'm looking at some of the guys we're trotting out there and like, man, how are we winning these games? No offense to these players, but those wouldn't be like our top-of-the-line guys nowadays. So just to see how much things have changed, I tried to put together a lineup of current major leaguers that I think could possibly be on the team next year, or would definitely be asked to be on the team next year. Now, obviously, I'm sure back in 2017, the USA Baseball organization asked a lot more big-name stars, but they probably got turned down by almost everybody. So I'm hoping that since we won in the previous World Baseball Classic, we'll be able to get some bigger names and just, oh my goodness. Here's my best guess at who we could possibly ask. The hardest place for me to pick is the starting pitchers. Like, if you notice, we only started 5 starting pitchers in the 2017 World Baseball Classic. And I just came up quickly off the top of my head of a list of 15 guys. And we only had 5 in 2017. And I just rattled off 15 guys. You could probably make a case for 20, 25 guys who would deserve it. And I don't know. Here's where I'm going to need your guys' help in the comments. Who would you pick as your starting pitchers if you could pick? And holy cow, just look at this. Garrett Cole, right? Probably the best pitcher in the major leagues over the last year. Max Scherzer, absolute bulldog. He'll be pretty old by then. He's 35 right now, so he might be up there in age. Speaking of up there in age, we kind of got these older veteran pitchers you could go with. Justin Verlander, right? He's 37 right now. He'd be 38 next year. How could you turn him down if you wanted to do it, right? Clayton Kershaw. No, he doesn't have the biggest reputation in big games, but 32 years old. Hard to argue with his track record. Jacob deGrom, back-to-back Cy Young Awards. Jacob deGrom is 31. So all these guys are over 30, but man, would these be the first 5 guys you get a hold of, right? How would anyone beat a rotation of these 5 guys, right? Steven Strasburg just came off a World Series MVP, 31 years old right now. Charlie Morton, extremely underrated. He's actually maybe retiring after this season or next season. He's 36. Amazing pitcher. Patrick Corbin, we saw what he could do in the playoffs. 30 years old. And then we've got some of these younger guys, some of these more YouTube, Instagram guys that you could go with. The younger guns. Trevor Bauer is the oldest of the group. He's 29, right? Blake Snell, Cy Young Award winner in his own right, 27 years old. Clevenger, 29, absolutely was amazing last year when he came back from injury. Speaking of amazing last year, Shane Bieber, 24 years old. Giolito, I'm assuming he would play for the United States. I think he was born in the United States. I don't know if he has parents are from the United States or not. 25 years old. Flaherty, absolutely filthy last year, the second half of the year. 24 years old, right? Look at these young guns. Walker Buehler, 25 years old. Who are you gonna pick out of this list? So those are 15 15 starting pitchers you could pick. And in 2017, they had 5. How are you going to pick 5 out of that list? I don't know how you would narrow that down. I didn't even include guys like Sonny Gray, Aaron Nola, Zach Greinke, Chris Paddock, Tyler Glasnow, Brandon Woodruff. All those guys could also have been picked, right? In the bullpen, since we had 10 guys in the bullpen in 2017, here's my best guess at 10 guys in the bullpen. Here's kind of a sleeper pick. Nick Anderson got traded to Tampa Bay from Miami at the end of last year and was absolutely insane with the strikeout numbers. I picked 5 righties and 5 lefties, which is probably too many lefties. I doubt they would take 5 lefties in the bullpen. Ryan Presley has been so good since he got traded or picked up from Minnesota to Houston. Craig Kimbrell obviously struggled last year, but has a track record of being one of the best closers in the history of the game, not just in recent memory. Kirby Yates from Hawaii, absolutely locked down. That splitter, untouchable the last couple of years. Ottavino from New York, not just the Yankees, but the state of New York. He's a little bit up there in age, but he's got a funky delivery and has been effective in the past. Will Smith, now with Atlanta. Here's my lefties. Could be another good piece in the bullpen, along with Taylor Rogers, the young pitcher, closer out of Minnesota. Another lefty, Doolittle. Big personality, has that experience from pitching the World Series in the playoffs the last year. Zach Britton. Yeah, this is when his name was still with the H. Zach Britton, still a solid reliever. And then probably our fireman will definitely be Josh Hader. Here he is without his long hair and his first ever Bowman card with the Astros. But Josh Hader would no doubt be their first choice out of the bullpen, right? So you may be looking at some of these guys in the bullpen like, man, could we just take some of the starters and have them pitch out of the bullpen? And I don't know if they would want to do that or not. In 2017, they didn't. They just went with exclusive relievers in the bullpen. So those are 10 relievers. If I missed anyone, you all can think of somebody else. I thought maybe of A.J. Puck, who pitched out of the bullpen for Oakland. I don't know if they'll go with young guys or more experienced guys. Okay, for the position players. Oh, man, there were so many tough choices to make. At catcher, I thought it was pretty clear the 2 I would take, Mitch Garver and JT Realmuto. Garver had a good year last year. Realmuto, this is a numbered card, I believe, out of 76. Yep, 57 out of 76 from Topps Update from a couple years ago. Realmuto would probably be the starter, the number 1 guy. He's got the most success lately. And Mitch Garver had a good year last year for Minnesota. There's really not that many great American-born catchers in the majors right now. So those were pretty 2 obvious choices, at least for me. First base, if you were following the tweets, you saw Pete Alonso said he might cry if they picked him. And so I wanted to pick Pete Alonso after his monster year last year. I figured he, along with Bellinger, could split the reps at first base. And you could also move Bellinger to the outfield. 2 amazing players right there at the first base position. Second base is a little bit sketchy, right? We don't really have a true stud second baseman, at least that I could come up with. I thought maybe we could put Rendon, who has experience playing second base, at the second base position. This is kind of the 70th year Bowman stamp, special stamp on this card. I'm a little bit unsure of this. Rendon could handle second. I also included Whit Merrifield as kind of a utility player for Kansas City. I know people are going to be upset. Man, what about LeMahieu? He could also play first and second. I get that. If you want to pick LeMahieu and argue with me in the comment section, that's cool too. I went with Merrifield just because he could play infield, he could play outfield. His versatility put him on my squad, although I'm going to put him behind Rendon. If it were up to me, I'd have Rendon as my number 1 guy. Shortstop, I don't know how you go wrong with either one of these guys, Bregman and Trevor Story. Bregman has experience with the national team. He obviously was on the team in 2017. He's more of a third baseman with Houston, but he could play shortstop. Trevor Story obviously plays shortstop all the time for Colorado and has put up some insane numbers to start his career. So I'm going to have those guys splitting reps at short. Third base is so loaded. I mean, I don't know how you pick, right? Technically, Rendon is a third baseman. I put Chapman. You're going to have to ask Arenado again. He won last year. He's one of the team leaders. Arenado and Chapman were the 2 that I picked. Chris Bryant, obviously, could be very deserving. Rendon, obviously, could play third. Bregman could play third. We have so many good third basemen. So if you want to put Bryant in here over one of these guys, I have no argument, right? So those were my 2 picks for third base. You can notice I left off Eric Hosmer, who was like one of the clubhouse emotional leaders from the team in 2017. I left off Anthony Rizzo. There's so many good guys to pick from. In the outfield, geez, if we could get these guys in the outfield, I don't know if we could be touched, right? Christian Yelich, he was on the team in 2017. He's already said he'll be back in 2021 if he's healthy. This is his Walgreens yellow version. That's not just the screen, the phone looking yellow. That's actually the yellow version from Walgreens from last year's 2020 or 2019 Topps. Yelich in left field, I think that's a lock. I think he's on the team. He'll be awesome to see. You guys know who we would all want to see in center field, right? If you could get Mike Trout to play in this thing, oh my goodness. Talk about ratings, right? Just to see him on the biggest stage. This is a numbered card out of 150. Wow. If we could get Trout to participate, that would be just absolutely amazing. I don't know if he will or not. I don't think he ever has before. And then in right field, I brought back Stanton just because he was a part of the team in 2017. If you wanted to pick Judge, I'm okay with that. If you had another pick you wanted to go with, and then Mookie Betts, if you could get him to participate. Mookie could obviously play infield. You could put him at second base if you wanted to in a pinch. But I thought maybe Stanton could DH. You could have Mookie in right field because Mookie is one of the best all-time right fielders. His defense out there is absolutely insane. And no offense to Stanton or Judge or whoever else you wanted to take in the outfield, but Mookie is just head and shoulders above almost everyone in right field. So here is my possible lineup for the 2021 World Baseball Classic. We have Real Muto and Garver. We've got Alonso and Bellinger splitting duties at first. We've got Rendon at second. You could also play Mookie at second. You got Merrifield as our backup kind of utility guy. At shortstop, we got Bregman and Story. At third base, I have Chapman and Arenado, but if you want to put Chris Bryant in there, that's fine. My outfield is Yelich, Trout, Betts, and Stanton. Obviously, there's no Aaron Judge, and that is kind of a bummer. I don't have Bryce Harper. There's so many guys I could have picked. And then the starting pitchers, holy cow, guys. That is where the American squad is going to have the advantage. We have so many top-notch starting pitchers. Probably 20 of the top 30 pitchers in the major leagues right now are all Americans. So feel free to give me some comments. Feel free to post your lineup. If you have any picks you agree with or disagree with, feel free to put them down there below. And if you're like me, maybe MLB Network will keep showing some more historical 2017 World Baseball Classic games because I enjoyed watching it today, and maybe it'll be on the rest of the week. All right, thanks again for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.